Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to day 2 of the Collaboration in the Human Sciences Conference. We had a really wonderful day yesterday where we had some excellent panelists and some excellent speakers share knowledge about their collaboration experiences and also many different resources and internet platforms that we can use to collaborate in the future. We are going to be sending all the participants all that information next week after the conference is over. We'll be sending you the PowerPoints and the things that were shared by our speakers. Also, we did have some follow-ups from speakers yesterday responding to some questions of participants. So one participant asked how you do the transcription through the Zoom meeting. And one of the speakers followed up and sent us the tutorial on that. So we'll definitely be sending that out. So keep your questions coming because the speakers are really responding to that and they really do want to help us. This conference is for graduate students by graduate students. So the main purpose is to really get as much out of it as we can and get as many useful tools in our toolkit as we can. So you guys have seen a lot of the three of us, and we were the main steering committee for this conference because it's being hosted by the University of Delaware. But we are not the only ones who put in a lot of effort for this conference. We had some excellent partners from the University of Patras and from the University of Tübingen, and we wanted to introduce them to you today. So we have Andromachi. Can you come on and say hello to everybody?
Hello from Greece. I'm Andromachi. This is Angeliki. First of all, we would like to thank Delaware University for this great opportunity. For this collaboration, actually, we have been working together, I think, since October.
Yep.
Yeah, this collaboration has been very interesting experience for us, and we're very, very thankful because you were open all the time to accept all of our needs and suggestions. So in our point of view, we think that this is maybe a key point of an effective collaboration since yesterday's talking. So we're very glad to have become a part of this group that Corey, Kathleen, and Jeannie have inspired. We hope this first conference to be the beginning of a very, very promising collaboration in the future.
Yeah.
This for me, and now Angeliki.
Hi. I would like to thank you for your great cooperation. Also, I would like to thank for the opportunity that you give me and Andromachi to participate in the conference planning commit. I am so grateful that I have met such significant people as you. Finally, I hope we will work again in the future.
Yeah.
That's there. Okay. Did you guys want to speak at all about this? Oh, you're muted. Andromachi, you're muted. She's muted.
Oh, Mahi said, okay, there we go.
Right now, this is for Mr. Leonidas Sotiropoulos' speech during the closing panel.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Very excited about it. It looks really interesting.
Thank you so much for all your help in this process, and thank you for joining us today. And now we want to toss it over to our counterparts in Germany. Yep. Kara, welcome.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm one of the team members of the German team. And I can just underline everything the Greek team already said. It was a great experience. And it was for me, I think, one of my first real collaboration experience, I have to say. And yeah, I think I learned a lot just by this collaboration with you guys. For instance, I mean, now I think like next time I start a collaboration, I take it much more serious to really set up a good relationship. And talk about mutual expectations and how much everyone gets involved in a collaboration. So I think this topic of collaboration became much more important for me through this experience. So I can encourage everyone, I mean, the listening PhDs and whoever is out there to just try it out with a small thing and then build up on that. Already a small collaboration gives you good experience. And yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure working with all these students from abroad, give a totally different perspective than what we have. And it's so easy to get into our own little bubbles and our own little world. But since the world is moving into this more global marketplace, we really have to be able to work with people from other countries and understand what their experiences are. So it's been really helpful for us. And also, you know, we're talking about collaboration, but we really wanted this to be a very collaborative experience, not only the finished product, the conference, but the whole process throughout. So it was very interesting for all of us, and will hopefully be written about in some reports or some manuscripts about our experience collaborating together for this conference. Great. Thank you and welcome again. And now Ginny's going to introduce our next speakers.
Yep, absolutely. I do just want to add to that, you know, that's something that our chair has been always talking about is the importance of globalization and how we need to think outside the box, like what Corey was saying. But this experience really allowed that, you know, experiential opportunity to do that. And I think you'll hear from Cole later, but part of collaboration is building those relationships. And I think we can safely say that we've made some lifelong friends through this experience. And I'm really grateful for that. So thank you, Caro, Angeliki, Andramahi, Marina, and Isabel. All right, yeah, so we can get started. Yes. Go Baby Go team, if you want to unmute. And I will go ahead and intro. So our keynote panel for day 2 is going to be Cole Galloway and his team from Go Baby Go from different constituencies. Cole's blue-collar futurist approach guides his interdisciplinary collaborative work. His personal interest in family, music, comedy, and social justice mix effortlessly with his professional background of rehabilitation, neuroscience, child development, human-machine interaction, and open source culture. His research and prototype development work focused on the key's role of social mobility in life serves to directly challenge the out-of-date culture of pediatric and adult rehabilitation, with a highly hopeful set of alternative products and processes. As the founder of Go Baby Go, a 90-plus chapter internationally, education and advocacy movement, he invents and studies assistive devices for children and adults with severe mobility issues. His approach of combining high-tech and low-tech into Go-Tech has garnered funding, awards, and partnerships with top-tier organizations, including the NIH, which is the National Institutes of Health, the National Science Foundation, the Department of Education, the Smithsonian's American History Museum, the medical and toy industries, such as Fisher-Price and the American Physical Therapy Association. His latest push is to exponentially scale up Go Baby Go curriculum into primary and secondary STEM and STEAM education in the US and abroad. Today, he will be joined by Gary Collins, design engineer, senior manager of Power Wheels at Fisher-Price, who consults with Cole at Go Baby Go. Gavin, he's the head of First Robotics Coach in Kansas City, and he has collaborative relationships with First Robotics, and he's a consultant with Go Baby Go. And Juan Aceros, he's the professor of electrical engineering at UNF, which is the University of North Florida. And he has a broad background that I will let him and Cole tell you about. So guys, can you go ahead and say something so we can all see you?
Hi.
Hey, there we go.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
There's Cole. And quickly, I'm sorry, I do want to interject and remind everyone who's tuning in, chat is encouraged, and we want everyone to shoot Corey over here. She's at the computer ready to answer your questions. And so if you have questions for the panel, and the panel may even have questions for you, feel free to answer through the chat, okay? So sorry, Cole, you can take it away.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks again, as everybody's talked about the organization. Jenny and I have known each other for a bit, and I've sort of seen this grad collab come online sort of from conception all the way through. Now it's kind of walking around in baby terms. And I challenge all the participants and the organizers to make this the first of many. And I think probably that's one of the things that came out yesterday. We're sorry that we missed yesterday. but that collaborations have a lifespan. And if this is the top of the mountain, then I think a lot of energy has been put in for very little bang for the buck. But if this is the first of many things, which I know the team and the organizers want this to be, then you may have hit on something that is much bigger than even you can realize. I'd like to start at least just in a collaborative way, and I wish you could see us all collaborate at Go Baby Go, is to before I talk to you a little bit about what Go Baby Go is just go through these gentlemen that I collaborate with and ask them, I'd like to ask them a question of just, relatively briefly, because we're going to come back to them. Gary, Juan, Gavin, why do you collaborate with folks in Go Baby Go? Why? And you guys all are Go Baby Go, and we'll illuminate that in a little bit. But Gary, why do you and I hang out so often?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is we share the same mission. At Fisher Price, we want kids of all abilities to enjoy our toys and play with our toys, and we understand how valuable play is to children, and how without play, children miss out on growth and learning and just cognitive abilities. And what Go Baby Go is something we're very proud to collaborate with. And yeah, we support your mission, and that's mobility for children and what it does for them.
And I would go back to the reason I'm in love with Fisher Price and talk about Fisher Price as sort of the anti-corporate model, because I'm not a corporate fan usually. And why is Fisher Price so high in terms of stock? And it was because several years ago we got a contact from Gary and his team from Fisher Price, and remember, we hacked their commercial units. We hack their toys. That means that we take them, we bust them up, we build these things, and we send them out to the world. And I fully expected, given American culture, to have a letter that said, please cease and desist. This is all cute, but we're about to sue you. And what I got was, we know exactly what you're doing. Our engineers are in love with you. Can we do workshops together? Are we best friends? Can we do some karate in the garage together? And that was from Gary, who, when you look at his bio, he's really, really good at what he does. He has a lot of background in what he does, but he's even a better person. And another thing that Gary has behind him when I'm looking for collaborators is his wife has a special connection to kids with challenges. When you find that, you really have found a person. And I didn't know what it was about Gary that made him such a what's called natural partner, somebody that collaborates so naturally. Part of it is Gary's upbringing and his sort of love of art and technology and this weird gamish of stuff that's just like me. But then you meet his wife and his family and you understand, okay, yeah. And for those of us in our science who measure families, who measure kids, who want to elevate the role of family and kids and culture, it was easy. Gavin, why Gavin Wood at Barstow School in Kansas City? What the heck, man? How do you?
Well, okay. Well,
I'm sorry, Cole. Can I jump in super fast? I just want to for our people in Greece and Germany. Can you give a quick overview of what Go Baby Go is and what you guys have done? Because we are more than familiar on UD's campus, but I don't think they are as much.
Sure. Let me give you a little snippet and go back to the guys, and then we'll return.
Perfect.
Yep. But Go Baby Go's mission, it's not a business, and it's going to sound like a business. It's not a nonprofit department of a university, although it has a research, service, and education wing. So you might think, oh, it's a department of a university that's just named really poorly. No, it's not really a department. Oh, it's a group of engineers that build technology and patent that. Nah. What noun is it? And it's taken us about 10 years to say it's a movement. And I don't want to say that Go Baby Go is like a Gandhi movement or a Martin Luther King civil rights movement in the States. But that's one of the aspirations, is to change culture. What we do is we build technology and develop training that helps kids with severe mobility issues and adults with those mobility issues empower their lives, co-create their lives through mobility. Now that doesn't tell you all that much. When you Google Go Baby Go, you'll see kids in modified ride-on toy plastic cars. And you'll notice, wait, that kid looks regular. Wait, that kid looks like it. What's the tube coming out of that kid's neck? Are they playing together and that kid has a ventilator? Wow. They build on top of these Fisher-Price cars stuff so that all kids can drive these cars. Oh, why is that kid standing on that car? Oh, because it stands up. Standing is the only thing that turns it on. Is that kid then working on standing while they're playing? Yeah. And this is usually where people go, okay, what the fuck? Okay. What? Wait a minute. I thought you said this was research. I thought this guy was a professor. Yeah, we get millions of taxpayer dollars to study the impact of these hacked cars and other technologies on brain development and family and fun and fitness and function. Wait, back up. So we don't have a good 15-second, this is what Go Baby Go is. It's more of a Zen model where the more you sort of unpeel the onion, the more you figure out like what's going on. But the key to the collaboration, just to jump to that very quickly, and I'll get back is that all of us, all the thousands of volunteers, the 90 chapter directors, the teachers like Gavin, the professors of engineering like Juan, the industry bigwigs like Gary, all overlap with one thing. We believe that mobility, moving through the world, is so important that we agree with the United Nations and World Health Organization that mobility is a human right. That's what we're all working toward. We do very different things during the Tuesday mornings of our lives, but that core singular mission, and because it's so important to us individually and personally. Well, wait, I thought collaborations were professional. Not mine. I drop my kids off at any of these guys' houses. My kids would have more fun at any of those guys' houses. Those guys know, each of them, one has new babies, know that, no, they wouldn't take my kids because they'd be like, I got my own kids, you keep your own. So we would vacation. We've got thousands of people that we would all vacation together. What? Yeah. But that's the bar, right? That's the bar I want. I don't want to work with people I don't like, unless I have to. So again, our mission is singular. It attracts and filters out. It filters out the jackwagons, the knuckleheads, the ego-driven people. And what you get is international quality humans who push down on the right side of the justice scales. And literally, I was just talking to some middle school and high schoolers yesterday about why they would collaborate with us. And I said, well, you're entering into a world, you're part of a world that bombs people, hurts kids, elects weirdos, fraud is everywhere. My group of people that I hang out with push harder on the other side of the scales than any of that crap that you see in the world. So if you're tired of that, quit your day job, steal everything we do, or come work for us. And I think I'll go to Gavin now. We attracted Gavin because he got too close. He got too close to this mission, and next thing you know, it's a slippery slope. So I'll ask him again, just Gavin, what the heck, man? What's going on?
Okay. Well, yeah, it's kind of a slippery slope. As Jenny was saying earlier, I've started out as I'm a first robotics coach, and I am a teacher, this director of STEM at the Barstow School in Kansas City, Missouri. And a couple of years ago, we went to a community build for Go Baby Go, and as Cole said, we weren't quite aware of the black hole we were about to get sucked into at that time. But we built a car. And then we found out at that build that some of the cars we built were just too small for some of the kids. There were about 7 kids that needed a little bit bigger model. And so we so we took on the challenge of, okay, so we're going to build these 7 bigger cars. And so this is me working with my FIRST Robotics team to build all these cars. And what ended up happening is that we all fell in love with it. It was amazing. And one of the things, I don't know if those of you who are familiar with FIRST Robotics, but in short, basically we build big, giant competition robots, and we travel around and compete with them. And so this was a way that during our kind of off season, that we could do something to actually make the world better. My big ethos with my students is to push this idea that you don't have to wait until you've gotten through college and you've gotten through grad school and worked on your PhD and spent a few years in the business world or whatever, or engineering things before you can do something valuable in society. So I take, freshmen, sophomores, juniors in high school and take the things that they love, which they love, working with Arduinos and programming, and they love tinkering with mechanical things, and to take those loves that they have and apply them to make people's lives better. And Go Baby Go is a perfect partnership for that. And that collaboration for us is really kind of spread. It started out with, ours is kind of an interesting model because we work with a Go Baby Go chapter, a children's charity, FIRST Robotics. I'm starting to talk to an international teacher organization. And also we founded an online forum called GBG Connect, where people from all around the world can ask questions and get to know each other and share information about Go Baby Go and about what they're doing to make more kids mobile. So that's kind of where I am. I don't know if I answered the question. I guess the reason that I do it, in short, is because I can't stop doing it. I can't start not doing it. So that's where I'm at right now. It's really interesting to me.
Yeah, and again, for folks, you're getting to see a collaborative group of people. I don't think you want to listen to us for how to create a traditional academic collaboration based on posters and presentations and publications only. This is a little bit different. The community has defined a problem, and we stepped up and are trying to solve it along with them. And there's just all these different kernels. You'll also realize that there's diversity in Gary, Gavin, Juan, and I, and across the Go Baby Go movement. Nobody is micromanaging. We are a distributed model, like a neural network of the brain or Bitcoin. You're not going to be able to find a leader. People speak of me as the founder, but people that know Go Baby Go know that I oftentimes just get out of their way. I am not the nucleus. It really is a distributed model, and it's because the mission sucks you in. If you're not into kids and mobility, if you don't understand that peeing in the morning by yourself is like an amazing thing to do, and that no one wants to be moved around unless they have to, and if you can't move, people move you around, and if you can't communicate, people communicate with you, and that's a deep form of disrespect and challenge to your independence. When people look at what Gavin and I do with Gary's cars, they used to go like, "Oh, that's cute, but I'm an engineer. I don't want none of that because it's not sophisticated." And then folks like Juan Aceros get sucked in, and Juan can tell you a little bit about himself, but let me tell you a little bit about him before he tells you, because he won't tell you everything. Juan has a giant brain that's pushed out all his hair. He does not have hair anymore because his brain has no sense for the hair. So it just pushes everything out. So he's a bald-headed, brilliant guy. His biggest trouble is his heart's bigger than his brain, so he wants to have impact. And I'll let him tell you, but I haven't really heard the real why either. But Juan, if you look at Juan's CV or his dossier, all academic institutions would be like, "Oh my gosh, if we could just have a Juan." When they meet him, half of them would say yes, and half of them would go, "You're doing what with what?" So Juan, how did we get why are you here? You could be back at Boston Dynamics. You could be making probably more money than Gary. What's up, dude? Why are we doing what we're doing?
Thanks, Cole. Yeah, I don't think I'll be making more money, but well, one of the things that I personally wanted to do is really I wanted to have impact. So I wanted to turn my career from just math and manufacturing and engineering and designing to actually see a human aspect to it. And that's how I got into Go Baby Go. That's how I got a partnership with one of the professors here, Mary Lundy. We started talking about how can we collaborate and have real impact on people's lives. And so for us here at UNF, what happened is we had a lot of clinicians from the community that were coming and saying, hey, we have this need. We have a problem here in the community and we have no solutions. Can you guys work on this? And so we started working on it. We got together and came up with some ideas. Now, you know that I am at a university, so we have academic requirements that we have to meet on a yearly basis in terms of grants and publications and the everything that's associated with an academic environment. So we have to come up with an idea of how can we do all of this? How can we do community service to the clinicians, to the family, to the children? How can we talk to our students, teach them why this is so important? And then how can we come up with publications and conferences and everything else is associated that my deans and chairs are gonna be requesting? And so we were able to combine all these three things into a class where we have engineering students, we have physical therapy, people from very different backgrounds, from different, they're across from our university, from our campus. They're different colleges, different departments coming together. Nobody had done this before. Nobody had an idea of how to do this. We put it all together. We managed to write some grants. NIH, we currently have 2 grants from NIH, which is big because that means that they're recognizing that this is important. Being able to have an engineer working with a physical therapist or with an occupational therapist or somebody from education or somebody from high school, all of this is very, very important. It develops skills, communication skills, critical thinking to our students, as well that we're able to provide devices to the community that are having a real impact on the children and their daily life. Quality of life is going up, burden of care, the families, the parents going down. We can see all of that on a daily basis. And so that fits into the research aspect, which is can we collect all that information if we can able to publish it, when we get publications and we get all of this. So here at UNF, we are able to do this. Now, if you were to ask me why I like working with Go Baby Go, I will say, and I think you just said it, is the passion of people. Everybody's driven in the same direction. Nobody's here because of politics. Nobody's here to get rich. Nobody's here for the money. Definitely not for the money. Everybody wants to have an impact on the quality of life of these children, and so that makes it work. That everybody has the same philosophy. Thanks.
Ginny, just checking in with you guys. Are there any chat questions that you think are pertinent right now?
Yeah, there actually are. I'm unmuted, right? Okay, yeah. So as graduate students, it seems like a theme across the 2 days has been an interest in process. So how do these things happen? So one of the questions that came through was, you guys have been talking a lot about, and then we made a connection with First Robotics, or then we reached out, how did you guys go about making those connections? How did you meet? Because I think that's something that graduate students, if they have an idea, they want to go be able to do it, but they're not always sure, or they're reticent to go seek it out. So if you could talk a little bit about the process, that would be.
Yeah, I can jump in real quick and then have other people talk about, because realize also one of the key elements that I spend time thinking about is the diversity of the 90 people that are leading the movement, and then the thousands that are sort of co-following with people, is each one of these individuals. And by the way, most of our movement is female. I just looked across the panel and went, oh, a bunch of white guys. That's not necessarily the case. So this is not that kind of organization. There's no good old boy. We would get crushed. I don't know why I assembled these guys, but those are some of the first that came to mind. Every one of these could also have a female counterpart. But each of these gentlemen and each of the 90 chapter folks bring a collaborative philosophy of their own. They're each individuals, and we kind of have an unspoken rule in Go Baby Go of a balance between things, a balance between personal and professional goals, a balance between stay in your lane, meaning sort of Gary's got Gary's primary job, and the Go Baby Go stuff is tacked on. Gavin has his workaday job, and he does his work and brings all that to his Go Baby Go life. One tries to keep Go Baby Go out of taking over his entire academic career like and I have succumbed like a drowning victim that Go Baby Go is just, it's just my thing, right? And I tried to throw it away 3 separate times, world. I tried to get rid of Go Baby Go, and 3 separate times the world came back and went, oh, no. But what that means is that each one of these individuals has a unique collaborative sort of personality. If you squish that, if senior professors come in and dictate a group, the stereotypical European model is there's one king or queen, and then there's all these fiefdoms. That is not the way to generate innovation, right, or entrepreneurship. Go Baby Go is a flattened organizational structure. If that makes sense to you, have the confidence to seek out collaborators that also have a flattened. So you're right, whoever asked that question is right to think about process. Our process is one of not launching a collaboration now, but maintaining and growing. So back when we were launching it, I did with my lab something that the community told me was key to them. I want to say that again. This did not come out of publications or presentations. This came out of the community saying, this is what you need. And then that drove filling that gap. And then we did 2 things. We gave it away. We gave our knowledge away, and we did it through social media, which is a 2-edged sword. And as far as I know, social media has never bitten us. It's never had a backlash. We've never had, but that's a risk benefit, and risk benefits are part of collaborations. One just very quick thing that I learned in an academic collaboration very quickly is I collaborated with a senior person after I was told by one of my mentors, be careful collaborating junior to senior without an out plan. So when the junior person goes into a collaboration with a more senior person, you've got to think in sort of in dating terms, how do I break up? And I had a little bit of knowledge, and I actually had a plan, and we broke up. And the breakup was over natural circumstances, but this senior person lost their mind because I was actually doing more work and they were taking more credit. And I think that's a very common thing. And this is in the States where there tends to be a flatter organizational hierarchy within academics, but it's still there. So process in terms of Go Baby Go collaborations is mission driven. It's not, collaboration is not the end. It's actually a tool toward something. And for Go Baby Go, the end isn't publications, presentations, grading kids, or building more Fisher-Price cars. It's, as Gary illuminated it, and this is what's so cool, is when a Fisher-Price corporate person can articulate his mission, and it's my mission. He said, we need to get more kids playing. Mic drop, bitch, please, done. We're done, that's it. And any one of these guys could, and most of the 90 chapter directors could flip this and lead. And in fact, that's a process that we're considering in the future of really not having even a figurehead like me. Process is really important. I'll throw it over to the guys and learn from them right
now. Who would like to go? I see you're on the street. Go for it.
Me? Yeah. Okay, I can go. Sure. Okay. Well, I guess for me, the building of collaboration and all these different kind of, I've just made all this kind of circles on my piece of paper about all the different groups I collaborate with to do Go Baby Go stuff, and there's a lot of circles. And every one of those circles all comes from the same idea, and that is, what are the needs? So for us, it's very much needs based. So when we first started, it was, okay, so our robotics team and school needs to do some outreach, so let's do something interesting. And then some kids needed some bigger cars, and so we're like, oh, we can fill that need. And then there were some kids that got some cars that they couldn't steer, they couldn't drive in because they only had access to one hand that they could really control. And so we're like, okay, well, we have some tech skills, so we can buy a Wild Thing from Fisher Price, this brand new creation that they've made, and we can pull that in. And then okay, so we need some more technical expertise, so then we'll pull in some mentors for that. And then okay, we need some access to some more kids now, and so we pull in some people from Variety KC or a children's hospital to do that. And once you start kind of looking for your needs, you find those gaps. And then for us, the way that we build collaboration is that you're either filling a need for somebody else, or somebody else is filling a need for you. And that is really kind of the crux of collaboration, is that we're all sort of working together to fill in the gaps in each other's experience and know-how and finances and access to various people or organizations. And so for me, it's very much a needs-based sort of situation as to when we developed collaboration. And a really big part of it was the need to communicate more effectively across I would call it the organization, but as Cole said, it's a movement. It would be a loose organization to describe it that way. But in order to provide a way to communicate and collaborate further without adding structure, that's why we sort of came up with GBG Connect, so that people can do that collaborative side without adding in the cumbersome structure, leadership, all that kind of stuff. It's nice because we can just kind of start that running and let it go. And those are some of the best collaborations, that when everybody feels heard and everybody feels like they have something to contribute. And there's not one person kind of top down in charge. That's not fully just collaboration when you're just doing what somebody else has told you to do. But when you're working together to solve all the same problems, then that's kind of where I take it. That's kind of the point for me. So
it's great, because the GBG Connect sounds a lot like the Grads Collab network that we're trying to build here through this conference. So this conference is actually a mechanism to bring people together. And then the network is hopefully something that will provide us with this space, or,
Excellent.
Exactly, like a forum, like what you were saying, for us to continue and stay in connection. So I would love to hear more. Maybe I can connect with you after.
Absolutely, absolutely.
To see what that model looks like, and to look at something that's that's working well.
Yeah, it looks like Cole has posted a link down here in the comments. Thank you, Cole, for doing that.
Perfect. Awesome. That's great.
All right, I will turn off my mic and turn it over to either Gary or Juan now. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. When it comes to collaboration with Go Baby Go, we saw how Cole was playing with children. And here at Fisher Price, we view ourselves as an ECD company, early childhood development. And we're obsessed with children birth to bus. So, that's basically, 0 months to 5 years. And we know that is the most critical time to the development of a brain of a child. And play is sort of how all that happens. It's how they gain language, express themselves, confidence, all that stuff. And, we have a play lab here. We bring preschool kids in on a weekly basis. And we see Cole out there with Go Baby Go, and they're playing with kids in all new ways, with our toys in ways that, maybe we hadn't thought of. So we really embrace that. And, we reached out to Cole. I think at the same time he was reaching out to us, and it was just a partnership that we want to keep going and move forward with.
This is really, really interesting because yesterday we had Charles Heckscher here, and he studies collaboration. And so some of the themes, and he's done it since, I think he started in the 70s. And so what you're talking about with this top-down model, he referred to it as like the bureaucratic model. And then it's moved into somewhat of a more, marketization model. But then by the end, he had these different figures. And then by the end, it was these neural networks that it was basically like a visual diagram of what Cole and all of you have described. So it's fascinating to have that perspective that our attendees got to see yesterday and see it in living form today in the Go Baby Go movement. So this is great.
So I want to add something. I just saw a question that somebody was asking about looking for mentorships and having that hierarchical organization. And I want to say that when you look for a mentor or somebody you can learn from, it is not just your boss. Even when I was a grad student, the people that you learn the most are the technicians and other fellow grad students. Everybody has a different experience. Everybody may have a different background. So when you're looking at mentorship and learning from people, just look all around. Don't just look up. Look sideways. You will, and look below also. You will learn a lot. I wanted to add something about seeking out collaborations. Basically, because about 5 years ago, when I joined UNF as a professor, I had to do that. I met with a lot of people, and you have to reach out to a lot of people until you find the right partners, the people that can keep up with you. Here in Jacksonville, we have a Mayo Clinic, we have Brooks Rehab, we have Walson's, Baptist, the school district, tons of clinicians. I talk to neuroscientists, neurosurgeons, cardiologists, urologists, all over the entire medical community, seeking out who I could work with, seeking out what kind of projects we could work on, what kind of partnerships we could build. And so that's one aspect, is that you have to reach out to a lot of people until you meet the right person. Now, once you meet the right person, these are the individuals that are going to be able to keep up. They work at the same rhythm that you work. And these are individuals, the partnerships, you have to come into it, and at least this is the way that I do it. Can I contribute something to this partnership? Okay, what can I contribute? And also, what can I learn from this? And this is something that for me, at least with the Go Baby Go, that has been very valuable, is that it's been 5 years and I'm still learning. Every time that I meet with a therapist in the community, with a family, even the children themselves, I'm blown. I'm like, oh wow, I did not expect this. And so for somebody who has like Cole said, a big brain, a lot of experience with, academically working on a variety of projects, to still be able to have the perspectives that you come into a relationship and you learn something, it's very valuable. It's something that everybody should look into when you're thinking of partnerships.
And just let me underline that what Juan is talking about is just sort of, if you look at the transcript, there'd be no flashing lights or underlining, but I'm telling you, these are golden nuggets to save you lots of heartache and also encouragement to go. One thing on top of all this too is, and if I had time, I'd show off these guys' ability to do this, but I could ask each of these gentlemen to participate in the following scenario. You have a 5-year-old, you have a corporate executive, and you have your grandma in the room. And I want you to talk to them for 2 or 3 minutes on what you do, and if you can convince them, they will give you everything you ever wanted. And I give them 5 seconds. Got it, ready, and go. Each of these guys would be able to talk to all those audiences at those different orthogonal axes, and at the end, they would push over the golden whatever they wanted. The point being, if you can't describe what you do, what your passions are, what your experiences are, to multiple types of individuals, and I'm not talking about the junior and senior faculty in the social psychology department. or even in the College of Health Sciences or Arts and Sciences College. But I'm talking, you should be able to drop into a bakery. You should be able to drop into a pub, a bakery that's also a pub, that's also a church. And if you can motivate those individuals to give you things they value, their time, for example, you've hit on it. But if that strikes fear in your heart, I could never walk into a pub and describe social psychology or my behavioral economics or my industrial engineering like Gary is, then that's something you can do to work on that will help not only your own ability to write grants and papers, but collaboratively, you're selling yourself. And it has to be truthful. And I found that that's one of the skills that I had to build. And you only build by talking about yourself and about what you do. And so one sort of guaranteed help, independent of anything else that's going on in your professional life, where you are in a country, the economics of the region, the cultural view of academics, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. If you can just continue to describe yourself, and that takes place in yourself in many more talking situations than just seminars. I don't know how many hours I've spent on the road talking to the Sunrise Rotary Club in Rehoboth, Delaware, a men's prayer breakfast. I'll talk to anyone at any point. I'm on a plane 100 times a year. Almost every time somebody asks me, hey, what do you do? And I giggle because I'm like, you have no idea what's about to hit you. And my job, so to speak, is 5 to 10 minutes of, I want that person to cry. I want them to take out their wallet. I want them to buy me a drink. I want them to stop their job. I want them to go, Gary Collins, I got to meet this guy. I want them to stop their world and take seriously the impact of not being mobile and how that influences your life. And so just for any junior or senior person, I think on the flip side, and I would ask these guys, especially if you like Juan, who has to attend a lot of seminars, he's smiling because he knows what I'm going to ask. Of all the seminars you've ever attended, what percentage, Juan, do you recall or feel are important enough that you would attend it again?
Yeah, I think the ones where you can actually relate to human beings that are being impacted, and that's rare. I mean, when you look at seminars, everybody just talks about their bench experiment that they did and their cool result, and they think it's the best thing in the world. But that's not. I mean, that's impacting you as a grad student in the lab. That's not really changing somebody's life out there in the field. That's not, if you're looking at the children, for example, that's staying in the lab. That's not going out there and changing, their lives. So yeah, I mean, when you look at going to a conference or a seminar, I mean, you go and you have to take everything, with a grain of sand. You understand what they're talking about. You understand, okay, yeah, this is an experiment they did, but the people that I like to talk to are the Go Baby Go people. We had here at UNF at our summit, and everybody who came, every talk, every presentation was so passionate because it was having real impact. Everything that everybody was doing was changing people's lives. And so that's the type of seminar that I would like to come back. That's the type of people that I want to talk to. But yeah, from the engineering point of view, is nice, and maybe you learn something, but usually you think about it as just an experiment.
Yeah. Gavin, I couldn't tell if you were raising your hand, Gavin, or
no. I have a cat that is trying to invade.
I thought because you
Sorry.
were school-age kids, you were going to raise your hand.
No, I have some things. I was going to take it to a slightly different place. I'm looking in the comments and looking at this idea of the hierarchical structure, and basically, and also about kind of when things have gone not so great with collaborations. I would say that the hierarchical structure that who was that was talking about that? Looks like let's see, Carolyn. Yeah. So it's so common, and it really dominates, pretty much every major organization, including the school I work for. And it's refreshing to not have to deal with that, but we all do have to deal with that stuff in life. And so while that is something that, it would be nice if all these were kind of neural network mindsets. That's not really how it is. And so we kind of have to work within those structures in order to get things done. And not everybody's always supportive. I found that whenever I'm trying to kind of do my little elevator pitch about what Go Baby Go is all about and what we're doing and why we're spending all of this time and effort and energy on it at our school and trying to grow it past our school with other organizations, is that I have to make sure that they get it. It's really a lot like what Cole was saying, that you got a few minutes on an airplane or whatever. How to make them really get the impact of what we're doing. And once you're doing something that is that kind of intrinsically valuable, once people get it, then they can't hardly help but support you. So the way that I actually, the people I work for are kind of people of no. They tend to say no. They like to say, oh, we don't want to do that. That could be a liability issue or whatever. And so the reality is that what I did with this particular organization is I did not ask. I just did it because that was the best way for me to really show them the value and importance of what we were doing. Because until you see it, it's really hard to kind of deeply get it. And I was going to respond to this question about when you're looking for mentors and people to collaborate with about times that it didn't work out. I'll just be kind of general about it because I don't want to talk for too long. But I would say beware of people that feel like they have the power to reject you or say no to you. If somebody's in a position of power instead of mentorship, there's a very different structure there. Someone that's in a position of power doesn't necessarily want to collaborate in the true sense of the word. They might like what you're doing and they might want to help take credit for what you're doing. But in terms of actually like learning a lot from that or really gaining a lot of, meeting everybody's needs from that, in my experience, that hasn't gone well. When people are in it and they're humble and they're kind, like the people that I work with a lot in Go Baby Go, then I find that those collaborations almost always go well. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. So I don't know who else wants to talk now, but
good job, super easy.
I just want to add one more thing. At least in my experience, stories and when things haven't worked out, there's a lot of people out there who have good intentions. They would love to collaborate with you, and they are honest, and unfortunately they don't have the time. So for me, at least my experience has been a lot of times have been people who say, yes, let's do it, let's go ahead and do this. But then once they realize that they can't really contribute, they can't really keep up to speed, then those collaborations usually fade away. So not every failed collaboration is because of somebody's hidden motive. Sometimes it's just because they don't have the time, life happens, they have different things going on, and unfortunately you can make it work out.
Yeah, I'm looking on the questions here, and there's another really good one. As new professors trying to publish papers for tenure, how do you balance the time for publication, service, and teaching? I feel that collaboration can take so much time. My mentality on that kind of stuff is that if somebody tells me that something is a way, my first reaction is it's just how I'm wired a little bit maybe, is I go, So you say, okay, well, you have to do it this way. I'll be like, well, why? Why do you have to do it that way? Maybe there's another way. So when people say interdisciplinary is the way to go. Collaboration is the way to go. It's the way that the world is. My first reaction is, maybe. Why? And I did an 8-hour seminar with all the leaders of the major department chair, kind of dean people at my university, and the administrative heads. These are all the people at the University of Delaware that could make interdisciplinary collaboration happen. And at the end of 8 hours, it was very clear they didn't really want to make collaboration happen. Back to Gavin's point of hierarchy seems to be that structure that you find everywhere. Silos is a US term of sort of staying in your lane, building a wall around your lab, sort of, not collaborating a lot. I think that still is, in some fields, the default, the sort of the ruling paradigm is collaborating within your bubble of microchemistry or social psychology. And what we're talking about here is truly interdisciplinary, international world, around collaboration. But that doesn't mean that collaboration is the best style, in my opinion, for every situation. And this person that's asking about collaborative time is there are risk benefits. And I take after I have a clear mission about what I want to do, and I can communicate that to you, my potential collaborator, then back in my mind, I'm taking kind of a dating situation style. And we'll hang out a little bit, but I'm not pushing anything else away. Very quickly, everybody works at 100%. And to make Go Baby Go come in and take some of that percentage away from one, Gary, Gavin, the other folks, they will do a risk-benefit analysis, either internally or very explicitly, and you want to do that. And you may say, no, this is not the right time for this collaboration. This is not the right time for this collaboration. One last thing before I let the other folks jump in is I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy, improv, theater, and one of my favorite comedians, Sarah Silverman, has this line: if you're always having horrible roommates, you're the horrible roommate, right? So, and I'm thinking of an unnamed professor that is a very big deal at my university that constantly struggles with bad collaborations. It's not just them, right? So back to, even if you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of collaborative ability right now or whatever, or you're nervous about making collaboration, getting your own value as high as possible by understanding how you fit with the community, how you are answering community needs. Yeah, and again, please don't look at Go Baby Go and go, oh, with kids it's easy. I'm a biochemist. With human machine interaction, that's great, but I do economics and finance. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're doing non-purposeful research, goodness gracious, no wonder you're having a difficult time finding your ground. Find what you love personally and professionally, write that out, put a circle around that and protect that, and go find a way to do that. And then a lot of these things will take care of themselves. But I'll let the other folks jump in.
Yeah, Cole, I just want to say, mainly because I went through the same process in academia, I've had both relationships that have worked out very well. And so the reward there, the benefits is that normally in the number of publications and everything just doubles. You have more people, you're publishing on the health side of things, you're publishing the engineering side of things. So that's a benefit. The risk, and in some of the collaborations that I've tried to start, is that you invest your time and money also into designing and products and things like that, and then nothing comes out because there's no follow through. So it really, it comes to you, and sometimes, at least for me, I've gotten smarter about what's going to work, what kind of relationship is going to work. At the beginning, you just tackle every single project and you realize, wow, it's too much time. There was a reason why this didn't work. Next time around, when I go to approach an individual, I have to address those issues to make sure that they have the time, to make sure that things are going to work out before I start investing my time and money into projects like that. So it's a lot of experience, and you do have to balance both risk and benefits. But there's a lot of benefits to in terms of publications and things like that.
I was going to comment too, and I think Juan, you're probably the master of the collaboration thing. And the question from either Di or Dee about people with different backgrounds collaborating and how to bridge the knowledge gap. Is that okay to talk about now? I hope. I was looking at that, and I think that that's kind of like the point of collaboration, is because if you knew everything already, then there's really no need to bring other people in unless you just need more hands on deck, you know. And then, in my opinion, the collaboration part is a natural teacher, because like, for example, I don't have a strong physical therapy background. I know some of the technology stuff, but that's why I have a collaboration with Kendra Gagnon from, that is from Rockhurst and now Baylor University, who helps me out with that stuff. And through that, I've learned a lot about physical therapy. I'm not a physical therapist, obviously, but I can kind of talk the talk. And that's really kind of the big benefit, is I don't have to know everything, but I learn a lot from it. And I can also, teach those other people that have that opposite skill set what I have. And I think that's really a valuable thing. And I find that when everybody brings something unique to the table, that those collaborations tend to go better, because everybody has like their own little section of the puzzle that when you put those all together, it makes it work. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that particular aspect.
You really touched on a good point too, because what they talked about yesterday, or one of the things they talked about, was the importance of language and being clear about what you mean, like not using terms that are jargon in your field, So one of the keynotes was at some sort of conference where they were talking about C-suites or something. Yeah. And now I've confused myself because Google has now changed their team stuff to G Suite. So I guess that's what it was about. But no one knew what they were talking about. And so finally she got up the nerve to say, like, I don't know what that is. And then a bunch of people didn't know. And so they had to explain it. But I think like what you touched on was that communication piece and the importance of language and learning the language, and how that's a huge part of it. Because if you're going to write up something based on your collaboration, you have to make sure your audience is going to understand what you're talking about across those disciplines. And that can be really hard. So I appreciate you touching on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if there's other questions out there. And
maybe, Cole, I want to tell a quick story about, and you heard this story within Mary and I, talking about language and communication between two different fields. As an engineer, you like to think of numbers and units and very specific things. So when we started working with Mary, who's a physical therapist, we have engineering students and we have physical therapy students all working together. And so one of the things is that before we got our students working, we had to be able to work together and be able to communicate. And so we came up with basically a platform where Mary developed basically a series of patients, the way that the physical therapist will see them. And she passed it on to me as an engineer. And when I saw these, basically a medical manuscript, I couldn't understand it. To me, I needed numbers, I needed specifications, and so I went back to her, and we went through this process a couple of times until we came up with a common language. We met in the middle. But an example of this is when we got the students in the class working together, the approach that they took to problem solving was very different. Physical therapy students take more of a quality of life, while engineering students immediately came up and took the tape measures and started measuring things, and they wanted to find out, how long something what's the weight, and things like that. So an ongoing joke within all of my colleagues here is that I will ask Mary for, how long and what are the tolerances and what are the units for something, and Mary will come back to me and say, well, about this big. And that's sort of the miscommunications in the language, this big versus something with numbers and units and tolerance. And so you have to be able to work that, and you have to be able to learn that. And I think a lot of employees, a lot of people who are looking at our graduates are looking for that experience, that ability to be able to communicate and to think and to be able to relate to different individuals. It's a very, very valuable skill.
Yeah, I think that what Juan's talking about in terms of this co-education, this collaborative terminology fits into what I like to do is prototype collaborations. I'm a big fan of, in design sort of thinking, is to try things out. A lot of people in collaborations talk about low-hanging fruit, or what's an easy collaborative thing, and doing something, running a small project, even getting together for a beer and talking about what we might do together and letting that simmer and multiple talks, I think works well. The collaborations I've had that didn't work were engineering, which I'm not, to human factors, which I'm more of, is the engineer coming to me and saying, hey, I got this thing, it's little, you got babies, you think they can do anything together? And I thought that was like, wow, that's weird. And then I talked to enough engineers to go, oh no, that's what engineers kind of do. That's the culture. And it wasn't like, oh my gosh, that's so weird. It was, oh, that's kind of cool. It's a new country. It's a new area of the planet. They think wildly different than I do. Isn't that really neat? So we started with, I've got small robots, you've got small kids, can we get together? To talking, and I'm usually in the collaborative partnership, the person that goes, okay, oh, what I'd like the robot to be able to do is this, this, and this. And I've just hit on a really cool project with Bert Tanner at the University of Delaware, which is the first collaborative project I really, like Gavin said, I'm interested enough to understand how swarms of mobile robots can work together. Why is that important? Well, that's what Bert does, but that's not important. It's because our babies with Down syndrome in our body weight support harnesses can move, but they won't seek out other social situations, but they will chase little balls. And so all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, hang on, keep telling me more about this importance. Well, these balls have to work together and it's a dynamic system and it's super cool from the engineering side. And I'm like, wait, can you make the balls run over to the Downs baby and then run back to the other typical babies and sort of corral everybody together in a location? And they're like, oh yeah, that would be awesome to do. So wait, hang on. From an engineering standpoint, you can get funded to make groups of angry balls work together and sort of, is it cool that a human would follow the balls? And Bert's like, oh my gosh, if you could get a human to follow the ball. I'm like, oh my gosh, clinically, you're talking about a cool set of toys. I got to talk to Gary about, like, is there a toy that might be able to sense and get, and so all of a sudden you got this tingle of, oh my goodness, this might work. And then you have funding. Funding is often in a collaborative dating situation, somebody's got to pay for the project. And for me, I'll let Juan and other people talk about what they do. I tend to go, okay, stop. We've got a great Angry Balls grant. This is going to be great on the kids side, on the engineering side. It's going to be awesome. Now, how can we get it? How can we get it funded? How can we get it funded? And usually, in the U.S. at least, funding now relates to one thing: pilot data, meaning previous data that we have. And so you go through this sort of systematic talking, and I'd be happy to write this up in terms of how we go about it in more sciencey collaborations, that has these rate limiting steps or barriers that have to be leaped over. But once you can, if the engineer and myself have common collaborative pilot data, like Juan and I were talking about a month or so ago, we started to go like, wait, oh yeah, you can track cars? Yeah, I've got cars and kids. Oh, we can get funding. Now when you feel like you got funding, now here's the issue. We can't wait a year or 2 or 3. So for funding of this, we get into partly typical grants, partly donations from corporate or individuals. So, but it all drives from the mission, the natural partnerships that drive us to solve all this. So that's a long-winded way, but I wanted to give sort of the arc of a landscape of a little bit more of the details of how collaboration sort of emerges, at least in my mind. And there's plenty of places for that to break down, but I can now, like Juan said, he's gotten educated. You can sort of see whether this is going to be more or less, and you save yourself resources. So you might want to ask a trusted mentor to come with you during these dating sessions when you're meeting potential collaborators, and they're giving you advice like a board of directors or something, a separate view.
Yeah, so I think that touched on one of the questions I had, but it looks like we have a lot from the audience. Is that the case? That there are questions?
There are a few.
Okay.
But they
We had prepared were what are the most essential skills one needs to develop in order to be a successful collaborator? And in our minds, that could be interpersonal, that could be like, what product value, but however you interpret it is good too.
I'll let other folks answer. That's a big old question.
I know, yeah.
All right, I'll start. I'll say something. I think it's about communication. Communication.
With you. I like that.
Absolutely. So I'm looking in the questions about international collaboration. And
Gavin's like, talk.
Yeah. International. I mean, okay. So in terms of the skill set there, I'm looking. There's a question about international collaboration. I'll touch on. Okay, that one's about communication too. I, as somebody who's lived overseas and tried to communicate with people far away, it's the hardest part by far. So you either have to have a situation where it's asynchronous, where you can kind of put something out there and they can like watch it or do something at their leisure when it works for them, or you have to have kind of a set up time. Actually, Zoom, what we're using right now, is my favorite way. I've taught online classes in China and things like that required me to get up really early in the morning, unfortunately. But we used Zoom just like this to be able to see each other face to face, and I think that face to face contact without it, and like one-on-one personal interaction, even if you're far away, that's really important. So internationally, you got to at least have like a video call every now and then so you can get to know each other a little bit. And then I would say, yeah, it really is. I mean, when it comes down to elevator pitch, for Adam here, who says, if you want to give an elevator pitch, but you're still trying to figure out what you want and what resources you need, coming up with a good elevator pitch is kind of one of the ways you figure out what you want and what resources you need. That's really, when I'm teaching like an invention lab class or whatever, and we're trying to invent a thing and they have to pitch it to somebody, really sometimes I'll have them do like a pre-elevator pitch before they've even developed their product, because that helps them kind of hone and focus their ideas on what is it I really want. What is it my actual thing is really going to do? Like, so, I mean, that's kind of, there's kind of a whole lot of ways you can think about that one. But I would say it all comes down to communication, how quickly and directly you can get to your point without being off-putting. I say this, I may be communicating horribly right now. I don't know. All right. So I'll shut up and let you guys take over here.
One rule I use communicating internationally, because we communicate with a lot of offshore engineering. We have a design office in Montreal. It's mostly French-speaking office. It takes time, and you have to be passionate enough about the collaboration to put the time in, but you want to try to say the important things twice, 2 different ways to really drive that point home. And it's not in a way to be disrespectful, but to be as clear as possible. You try to make your point twice and word it in 2 different ways, so you really drive the point home and what you're trying to communicate. And I have a comment on the elevator pitch. An elevator pitch shouldn't be about resources. That comes after the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is to get that passion there and to get that person on board with your idea. then the whole resources thing, that, I mean, that could muddy your elevator pitch immediately. So maybe just keep that in the back of your head. And that elevator pitch is just that core nugget, that core passion of what you want to do and what the collaboration should be about. So that was my comments on that.
Yeah, and just piggybacking on Gary and Gavin with the elevator pitch, I constantly am having to work on myself, my junior faculty, my postdocs, other people that I care about, asking them, yeah, but what are you really into? Yeah, but what do you really want to do? Because sometimes it's, well, I want to work with this population of people to do this certain thing with this certain technology or research or develop this kind of product. And the tendency of junior people, I think, is to focus very much. You just came out of a PhD or a postdoc or somewhere that you really were just rowing the boat. And so you try to row the boat with a little bit of head up. And what these elevator pitches people are talking about is you're still going to have to row the boat, but you're going to spend more and more time looking up and out. And I've got a great colleague that she found out over a 10 or 15 year period that she really wasn't interested in folks that have had brain injury walking on fancy treadmills. She wanted the average grandma, granddad, loved one that has a brain injury to be able to get around in the community. It didn't have to have anything to do with treadmills or therapy or technology. She really thought that what she was doing with the treadmills was important, but only as it related to the outside world. And it took her 15 years and much hard effort to realize I'm just not interested. Even though I've gotten grants, I'm really interested in how you get around the community. So, and she and I wondered constantly about asking that key question: what are you really interested in? And Gary's not interested in building plastic cars or even building toys. His go-to thing that jacks him up is seeing a kid and being a kid. It's something around kids. And so he's willing to give up a lot of different things so long as that 30,000 foot sort of overarching mission is met. And so he'll compromise, he'll risk benefit, but he will never give up that. He's not going to do stuff on this side. But he's gotten there through trial and error. So you don't ever get to a point, I don't think, where you go like, aha, I'm the perfect collaborator. Like Gavin said, you're constantly learning. Juan said, it's the humility of, I don't know stuff. I need to collaborate with other people. But why are you collaborating? It's not for the collaboration. It's not for the publication and presentations. Those are all tools to answer community problems. And I would push everybody, no matter if you're a biochemist, finance guy, corporate executive, you are important to the world because you're addressing a community need. Now, you may never have asked the community what they need, but that's a totally different webinar.
Back one question to Gary, because one of the things that are always on our minds are jobs, and you talked a lot about how you guys come at Fisher-Price. You come from this early childhood development perspective, from birth to bus. For grads, a lot of us are in early childhood education in both Greece and the US. All of us have some sort of human sciences, human development perspective. What skills are you looking for from grads as a person in industry and not in academia? What skills are you looking for from grads graduating with a PhD? Like, what would they have to have for you to hire someone?
Well, I'm going to speak from a little bit different perspective than my everyday job in design and sort of working with creatives. But we have a very extensive research group. Not only do we do consumer research and market research, but we do research with children. We do have PhD on staff. We have EDDs on staff. We have people who, their whole PhD was on early childhood development, and they're experts in that. And so we have quite extensive collections of play patterns and ages associated with play patterns, and what play patterns are best for what ages, and what play patterns build into the next stage of play patterns. And so, yeah, we hire a lot of those. We have an office, and of course, Mattel and El Segundo has an even larger research research staff. We bring kids, babies, preschoolers, 5-year-olds. We bring them in all the time and we play with them with concepts. We show them drawings. We bring moms in a lot. So a lot of the staff research with moms, and a lot of it's not like, well, how much do you think this should be? You know, how valuable do you think this is to your children? Would you like another feature where this says grow with me? Or do you think this is really just like a 3-month thing and the kid learns a certain task and they're moving on into something bigger and better? Yeah, we do a lot of research. We also have a lot of quality safety engineers and a safety team, because you can imagine we don't want to hurt any children. And as a designer, I can make things look really cool. I can get really focused in on the look and the style and not exactly realize that, you know, this door will pinch a kid's finger, or, you know, someone's hair can get stuck in the way this mechanism works. So my whole job is collaborating, because I can't know all that stuff. So we have teams of people who help engineer, help market, help sell, help research, just help make sure that if we say this toy is for ages 3 to 7, we've done everything in our power to know that that a kid at 3 can play with this toy and understand how to play with this toy, and then a kid at 7 years old still values the play in that type of toy. So hopefully that answered your question.
Absolutely did. And if possible, I'd love to open that question up to the whole panel and just hear kind of what you look for if you're to hire someone, even if it's like a postdoc or, you know, any sort of hire. Just because I think it's always helpful to hear like what people are looking for in these alternative kind of environments that you guys all work in, or non-traditional maybe.
Yeah, I will say that you know, when I interview, and I think I mentioned this before, I looked at you know, if I'm interviewing for a job, what can I contribute and what can I learn? And I look for the same thing from somebody who's applying for a job. If I'm going to hire a grad student, if I'm going to hire a postdoc, or even when I'm in the faculty committees and I'm looking at new faculty that we're going to be hiring, because we need to fill in a position here at the university, I look at what do they bring and why do they want to come here? Are they going to learn something new? Are they going to be able to work with other individuals? To me, that's very important. Always come into a situation with what can I contribute and what can I get, what can I learn from it.
I'll piggyback on top of that. When it comes to healthcare or caring for someone, I need to see in a graduate student, a PhD level, postdoc, visiting faculty. If you want to sort of have the blessing of the rest of the Go Baby Go movement and start a chapter, you've got to show me that you truly understand what it means to care for someone. And if you'll start by going, you know, I'm kind of more of an adult and I work with kids, and I'm mobile and these kids are immobile, and I've never been a caregiver, and I'm going to work with lots of families and caregivers, and you know, I don't know really anything. I know a lot about the literature, my PhD's in blah, 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 but I really don't know much. I have a very sliver of expertise. I can contribute that expertise, like Juan said, but I can also contribute an understanding that to care with technology and training and that kind of stuff brings a very heavy ethical and moral responsibility to get it right. And it's not about me, it's really about these kids, and that's why I want to come to the lab. That's why I want to build cars for kids. And by the way, even though 2 or 3 weeks ago I was giggled out of a meeting when I said that middle schoolers and high schoolers, primary, secondary kids for other countries, are going to be a major wing of serving kids with mobility through Go Baby Go cars and technology. And the person literally went, if you're working with kids on this technology, I don't even understand it, and they got off the phone. And I smiled and went, there we are. We're at the boundary. That's exactly it. So that person sort of took themselves out of the collaborative loop, but it also reminded me that middle school and high schoolers and these potential collaborators at the thousands of collaborator level probably have felt that before. They've probably been disrespected. They probably don't feel as much power as they would like to. And when I talk to middle schoolers and high schoolers now about Go Baby Go and the plight of a kid or an adult with a brain injury, you can see it. They're like, we're ready to go. So that kind of natural collaboration. So what am I looking for from a middle schooler or a sixth grader is not the skills you would think. It's that internal understanding and respect for quote unquote caring from someone. Then that's it. That's it.
Yeah, Cole, I think a lot of, a lot of times you don't look for people who already have the knowledge, but that desire to learn and the desire to make it happen. And that's important.
We have about 3 minutes left. And first off, I want to thank you all for coming and sharing so candidly. This has been such an informative and just like eye-opening experience. And I think you have really provided a living organism of everything that we've kind of touched on yesterday. And thank you for being so interactive and open to the questions. That's exactly what we were hoping for. One thing I do want to ask of you guys is there anything that we can do to improve this experience moving forward? So the second iteration of this conference, in what ways would you guys recommend? But what worked? What could we change?
I don't know what you could change. I mean, this is, Jenny, you and the organizers made it super easy for the rest of us. I don't know about the other team, but it was super easy, and including us, thinking of us was really awesome. Like you and I talked about maybe last week, I think Grad Collab is much, much bigger than most academic faculty would understand the need for. The need for graduate students falling through the cracks, getting out with lots of knowledge and PhD, but not being able to convince one that they really understand their role in learning. And you and I can continue to talk, and I'll bring all the Go Baby Go movement folks, because by the way, I mean, everybody's met Gavin, Gary, and Juan, but as they'll tell you, just replicate these folks. They're just the same kinds of mentality, and that, and also to encourage the junior folks, you're there for a reason. Find your mission, find your place in impacting the world. And a lot of this other stuff, the anxiety and stress of making promotion tenure, the job anxieties, even if there's not jobs right now, find what you were put here to do. That may take some time. That's okay. But when you find it, all these things kind of, they pale in comparison when you find your thing, but it might take some time. Certainly for me, they can contact me directly. I'm happy to talk to people. I will tell you, as I've told these three guys, be careful when you get near Go Baby Go, because it tends to have a little bit of something for everybody. And as Jenny knows, it can kind of wreck you, but that's great. And I'll let the other guys talk, but let me just thank them too, the buddies. It was great that you guys dropped. All these folks are super, super busy, as are the organizers, and they just dropped stuff. Gavin, Gary, and Juan, and thanks you guys.
You're welcome. I just want to say one thing, that don't be afraid to let people know about your idea. Don't be afraid to seek out other perspectives. As you're so close to an idea, sometimes you don't see it completely, and those other perspectives, they could be gifts, so don't take criticism as a negative thing, take it as a gift. But yeah, if you've ever been to a Go Baby Go workshop, you understand it 100% right away when you see those families react to their child moving for the first time.
Yeah, it's inspiring, and it's fun to work with all these people. Everybody I meet in the Go Baby Go movement is always inspiring and makes me want to try a little bit harder, do a little bit more. So thank you all.
Same here. Thank you so much. This was very well organized. It was super easy for me. All that I had to do just click on the computer and come and talk to you guys. So I really don't know how you can improve it. And hopefully everybody, somebody just come into my office, Mary. Hopefully everybody got something out of it, and hopefully I will meet at least Gary at some point.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you so much. We'll give them a round of applause in our in-person spot. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, in about we'll have Kathy Murphy do our Birds of a Different Feather workshop, which is all about learning about yourself and how you interact with others and different styles of processing. So definitely want to join in for that. All right, we'll see you soon.
I thought someone